beautiful Saturday morning. Trust me, if you see Lagos now, you'll be very happy. Compared to what happened yesterday, I saw some videos yesterday of some flooded areas in Lagos, and I was like, oh wow. And the rains are coming in torrents, and we should all be careful and take care of our environment. Well, that's not what we're talking about this morning on Time Out with Idara. Of course, we are looking at something very important this morning, and that is why we're urging you to be a part of our conversation for today on the program. Now, before I bring on my guest and tell you what we have to discuss this morning, now I would also like you to keep these numbers to your chest: 0813 331 3172, 0813 331 3172. Now, if you're a working parent out there, you have a child and you're thinking, how do I balance work life and taking care of this child and making sure that they turn out like the kind of child that I would really say I raised them, then you should be a part of this conversation. Trust me, whether you are a daddy, whether you're a mommy, whether you're an auntie, a guardian, a caregiver, trust me, you should be part of this conversation. That is what we're looking at this morning, the impact of working parents on child development. That is what we will be looking at. And this morning, let me quickly bring in my guest. There's no time to waste at all. I have with me Owen Madu Theodora Chioma. She's actually the founder of Ruby's Foundation. Also AUNTY TAYELOLU, and she likes that name too much. She's so branded that name that she is actually the executive director for Vision of Raising the Bars with AUNTY TAYELOLU. So you're welcome, ladies.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, nice to have you here. So it's radio. Feel free, enjoy yourselves.
Okay.
So yes, the conversation is around working parents, and of course, in today's Nigeria, all of us have to work, whether you want to accept it or not. When the harsh economic realities tell you you can't stay at home and be a full-time housewife,
Yes.
or a, what do they call them now? What do they call you? Stay-at-home dads. You cannot afford it anymore. You must do something. Now, how do we now balance that life with having children, with taking care of those children and raising them? Okay, let me start with you, AUNTY TAYELOLU. You are, yes, in depth in
Yes.
children, and I suppose you work.
Yes.
So how do you manage it?
I have a very thriving career. I work with the presidency, and I have this passion. That is why I do Raising the Bar. I have passion for the child. I have passion for the adolescents. And it is always with pleasure that I like also to show the parents the way to go in impacting their child transformationally. So I prioritize. God has helped me so much that He has given me capacity to do well in my career and still deliver as the vision of Raising the Bar.
Now, let's bring it home now. So, for a parent who, for instance, has a career like you,
Yes.
and then needs to balance it with raising children. Now, how do we balance the gap so we don't feel that there's a gap there?
Okay, you set your priorities. Like the economists will say, there's what we call scale of preference and opportunity cost. You know what is most important to you. And from the aspect from God, He intends for us parents to be the earthly angels for our children. He intends that we be the first teacher in our children's life, and we groom them in a way that as they go through childhood into teenagehood and adulthood, that they are upright and responsible. So I believe that as a parent, especially if you have your partner with you, you can constructively know what works for you. You set boundaries, and you know when too much becomes too much. You prioritize your child, the care of your child. And from the standpoint of an adolescent advocate, I run a very active mentorship program, and I have quite a number of adolescents already registered with me. So when I tell you that I hear things firsthand from these adolescents, that makes me know without an iota of doubt that a lot of them need the impact of their parents in their life. And God has helped me to to have like an acronym which I call TAP: time, availability, and presence.
Okay,
Time.
so let me pause you for a bit so that we will come and talk about TAP very
Yes.
soon. I
Yes.
want us to
TAP.
hold on to TAP
Yes.
because I'm very sure a lot of parents were wondering what exactly we're talking about. Now
Yes.
let's quickly go to Theodora. Now you are also in the business of taking care of girls.
Yes, ma'am.
In your line of work, have you encountered, just like you said, you had heard stories about people, children who give you stories about, okay, so they need their parents and they are hardly there. Have you had any experience like that with the children that you deal with?
Oh wow, I've had quite a number of experiences. The truth is, having to mingle with these girls, I discovered that a larger percentage of our parents do not actually have time for their kids. They actually just feel that parenting is just all about providing their shelter, paying their school fees, getting them nice clothes, and then once they have been able to do that, then they feel that they have done it all. But actually, there is an emotional need to these children. There is a physical and a mental need to these children that they most of the time don't meet. So the economy actually has made parents to just look at the other way and then forget about this emotional need of the children. And they haven't been able to strike a balance because most of the children I meet, you discover that they are far away from their parents. Their parents think they are close to them, but you discover that there is a whole lot that is going on in the child's world that the parents have no idea of because of work. So it's actually very important that parents are able to strike a balance between their work and parenting.
Yes.
It's very, very key. So you find out children that probably are abused, a lot of children, and then the parents don't even have an idea. The parents are not even there to actually know what's going on in the daily life activity of their children. They go to work in the morning, come back late in the night, and then they're tired. They just ask if the children eating, and then the children have gone to sleep. The next morning, another marathon, and all of that. It just goes on and on and on without finding out what happened in the child, without finding out how the day went, without finding out who the children's friends are in school. And these things are actually very, very key to the growth of a child. So when a parent doesn't have to get to know what's going on in the life of the child on a daily basis, a lot goes on. You don't know who these children are mingling with. Even your caregivers, your nannies that you think are taking care of these children, you don't know what's going on. You don't know how they're actually bringing up your children. And then your children just get to grow up and a lot of things has gone wrong and then you
No. Now, ladies, you have raised questions here. Okay, you have said things here that have raised a lot of questions in my head. Now, in my mind, I'm saying, okay, so now that we're saying all of those things, most times parents work and then we neglect what's basic for us as parents. Are you saying that parents should not work at all?
no,
Because
not at all.
No. Parents need to work.
It's very important.
As a matter of fact, child care and working parents, in my opinion, are mutually exclusive. You can't separate one from the other. And with the realities we have in our economy today, parents need to work. The cost of living is going over the top, but there's still a way in all that clutterness. If as a parent you know that your child is a priority, and these children, they are trusts from God to us. Every parent will give account of every child that God gives to them, and so we must endeavor to find what works, because amidst of all the chaos and busyness, there's still things that can work for you as a parent. And I want to add this, please. Every child have questions in their mind they want answered. They have fears that they want allayed. They have knots that they want untangled. And the answers and response they get will ultimately determine the choices they make and the decisions they take. Now, who is your child talking to? In your absence, who does your child talk to? I always tell the parents of my mentees that endeavor to know the three closest person to your child, because whenever your child have questions, it is most likely that these three closest persons are the ones from which your child will get their answer, and these answers will resultantly fuel their choice and decisions. So the place of parenting cannot be pushed to the back burner. It is germane, it is important, and it is very key. Ultimately, even to the development of society, because these children are the pace setters of tomorrow. We have lots of delinquents in the society today. We have a lot that is going wrong. So we need to, as a people, decide constructively to prioritize the parenting of our child.
Now, you have said something very important. But before we move over to Theodora this morning, let me quickly tell you, listener, that you can be a part of this conversation this morning. Yes, you can call us. Even if you're watching us live on Facebook, you can leave a message or comment, and definitely we'll take it on the show as we go on. But for now, if you're listening to us from home, you can call 0813 331 3172. 0813-331-3172. If you're a parent and you're working, and of course you are looking for ways to help you find balance, or you have it already and you have tips for us this morning, we'll definitely want to learn a thing or two for you and how you're managing it, especially with Lagos and how the makeup of Lagos, how you are able to balance work and raising your children, and also raising godly children, not just any kind of children, raising godly children. Now, Auntie Tayelolulu did talk about finding what works. So I'm going to throw it back to you, Theodora. Now, how do I, as a parent, find what works for me to create that balance that I'm looking for?
Okay, I'll say this, that as parents, there is something called priority. We have different kind of jobs when looking at the job setting, for example, and then it's not all jobs that we should take. As a parent, I don't see it fit for you to take a job that would keep you out of the house till 9, 10 in the night, when you know that by that time your children are already going to bed. Okay, there was a day I was actually in the Lagos traffic. I was coming back from Lekki. I used to work at Lekki Phase 1 then. And it was around 10 p.m. in the night. We haven't even crossed Aja. I was heading towards the Awaya axis. And then we were stuck in serious traffic. I looked back, so I was sitting at the front seat, and then I saw some mothers who were actually carrying their babies in the bus. And then I asked myself this question, that what time will these women get home? And by the time they get home, will their children still be awake? So what time do they actually have to converse with these children? And then maybe they wake up in the morning again by 4 o'clock, so that you can beat the traffic, you can be out by 5 and off to work again. And then I came to this conclusion that it is not all jobs that parents should take. Yes. Let's look at mothers in particular. As a mother, you should choose the kind of job you take. If as a single lady, you can explore everything, take out different kind of jobs. But as a mother, there is something called priority. When you know that you have a child that God has entrusted in your care, that you have to take care of, you should be mindful of the kind of jobs you take. So you look out for the kind of jobs that are not too far from your house, that you know that within the space of 2 hours after your close of work, you are home already to be with your children, and at least have a talk with them, have a time out with them, get to know how their day went, get to know what happened in the school that day, get to know who they rapport with, and what happened in the day.
So I'm going to play the devil's advocate now. I'm very sure somebody at home is like listening to Theodora now and saying to in their minds, with everything happening, I get a job with a bigger pay. If you tell me to take a job that I'll close by 2 p.m., definitely the pay will just be peanuts. And most women these days, trust me, are breadwinners. So a woman gets a job like that, and you're saying she shouldn't take it and find something that's, how does she now take care of the child? Because also, ultimately, maintaining the child is also part of you taking care of the child. Yes. You cannot afford to sit down at home and listen to the child. I'm just playing the advocate here. Yeah, and two of you can argue it out. Okay, so now I can't sit down and at home and say, okay, I want to take care of your emotional needs, I want to take care of your psychological needs and all of that. What of the physical needs?
Okay.
What happens when the
Okay.
salary or the monies I get is not even enough to take care of anything?
Okay, I will start by saying this. When God made man, he gave man job before he gave man Eve. But when he made woman, when he created the woman was created into relationship. So, mothering, parenting, caring, nurturing comes more intrinsically, naturally to the woman. But there are exemptions to the case. I have a friend whose husband is better with the children than my friend. So there's the silent question that begs for answer. Should the woman be the one to take the most flexible job? And my answer to that is, and that was why I emphatically told you ab initio, that the couple should sit down and find what works. If you as a couple know that the man is better with nurturing and caring for the children, so far there's love, both of you are one, you can decide that the wife takes the more financially rewarding job and the man is more available to physically tend to the parents. And I will still annex this with TAP, that concept I gave.
Yes.
Time, availability, and presence. For you to impactfully nurture and groom any child, you must, as a parent, endeavor to connect psychologically and mentally to your child. A child you are connected to psychologically, you will be the first person that will occur to the mind of that child whenever he's faced with tangible situations. And time is what gives you this opportunity. You can never replace time with presence. You can never replace times with gifts. And in the area of childcare, many of you parents will say, after all, myself and my husband can take up jobs that will take us from the home. So far, we can pay for childcare. I want to tell you now, as a matter of fact and as a point of information, from the position of a child advocate, I know that most sexual abuses originate from the caregivers of our children. Most children are initiated into social vices, decadence, rottenness, and sexual abuse through their caregivers. I have practical cases in my mentorship. Some have sorted out, some I'm in the process of sorting out. And I would advocate, if you still have grandparents, I prefer that it is the grandparents that will nurture the children in the absence of the parents. I even prefer grandparents than uncles and aunties, because some uncles and aunties are also poisons in person. So if you have grandparents, well, after all, your mother mothered you up to where you are, why not bring in your grandparents to help you tend to your children? Time, availability, and presence is very important in nurturing and grooming your child.
Well, thank you so much, Aunty Tayelolulu. While you were talking, you almost took me way back somewhere. But then, before we go into all of that, let's look a little about the behavioral patterns of some children. Sometimes, even while you're at home, they still will act the way they want to act. And if you go to work as a parent, they still will act the way they act. So I'm not trying to justify some of these things, but I'm saying sometimes is that like there's little or nothing you can do as a parent for a child. So yes, I do understand where we're coming from. I'm talking about child development and child care. But then can we also look at it from the perspective of, okay, so either I'm there or I'm not there. A child will turn out the way they want to turn out.
Okay, ma, I'll come in there.
I like playing the devil's advocate. Don't
Yes,
mind.
it's very okay. I'll come in there. As parents, parenting was from God. God gave us these kids that we are tending. We are the first priests of these children, even before your pastor, even before the bishop. We are the first priests of these children. Now, the Bible says that you shall have whatsoever you say. So it is actually very key as parents that you speak into the life of your children. Very, very key. As parents, you wake up in the morning, you pray for your children. In fact, even from the belly, when you haven't even given birth to that child, as a parent, you're already supposed to have started speaking words. And these words will actually pattern the life of that child. See, no matter what, no matter how much the devil wants to take hold of a child, as a parent, as long as you keep on speaking words over that child, sooner or later, those words you have spoken will actually take an effect on that child. You find out a child that has gone haywire, and then something is just bringing that child back to God. It is those words that the parent has actually spoken over the lives of the child. That is why it is very key that as parents, you know your position as a priest. And then you shouldn't just know it by for knowing sake, but you should take up this position as a priest. So you should always speak words. Parents should be very careful of the kind of words they use on their children. It is very, very important. And then maybe your child is being stubborn and then begin to call him names like coconut head, call him names, all manner of names. You hear some parents call, and I'm wondering like, those words you are saying over your children, they matter. So you don't actually have to speak words about your children with what they are actually doing at the moment, but you speak prophetically about them. Like, I know you are a great child. No matter what you are doing right now, you are just being naughty as a child. But whether you like it or not, you will turn out great. Whether you like it or not, you will turn out useful. Whether you like it or not, you will achieve what God has actually want, what God has actually mandated you to achieve in this life. And then, no, see, no matter how much these children may be, because actually children could be a handful, but never give up on them. Keep on praying for them. Keep on speaking these words day and night. Wherever you are, actually, the beautiful thing about prayer is that it's not only when you go on your knees to pray that you can actually pray. You could be cooking and you're praying. You could be walking on the road and you're just speaking words. So it is actually very important that parents should know their positions as priests of their children. Very key.
Okay, so let's take a quick break. Let's take a break. When we come back, of course, we will still be looking at the issue, the impact of working parents on child development. And of course, don't forget that we still have our guests with us here in the studio. We have Theodora Chioma Madu, and of course, Aunty Tayelolu. They are our guests this morning, and they have been blowing hot on, on the topic this morning. So we'll take a break. When we come back, the conversation continues. Don't go anywhere. We'll just take a break with a song of they have been handing me since that Batoranki does not know how to sing Heal the World. So I'm going to shock them this morning and give them that version. We are looking at the impact of working parents on child development. And of course, my two amazing ladies, my guests in the studio this morning, have been doing justice to the topic. Well, we have some people who have dropped comments on Facebook. We'll definitely read it before the end of the show, but you can also rush down and read up comments and be a part of today's program. Now, remember that I have with me Aunty Tayelolu. She's actually a visionary of raising the bar with Aunty Tayelolu. And of course, I still have Theodora Chioma Madu. She is the founder of Ruby's Foundation. They are here shedding light, opening our eyes to the need for working parents to understand that they have to balance both the home front and taking care of their children. Now, while we were on that break, I remember something. I don't know which of you said it. I said something about okay. So when it gets to the point where they have to select who amongst the husband or wife should step down or take a lesser job than the other person, I think it was that that was talking about it. Now, in a case where that comes up in a family, now for you that have actually worked with children a lot, now you said something about the fact that whoever is way better in taking care of the children should just take some steps back and let the other person take the better paying job, isn't it? Okay, so now in cases where children now need to talk to either of the parents, now who would you advocate they talk to? Not the gender now. Who would you advocate that we talk to more? Is it the mom? Because yes, in this instance, we've been able to find out that it doesn't matter. The parents could come together. Yes, it doesn't matter who is anymore. If you come together and say, okay, you are better at taking care of children, you are the man. Stay at home and take care. In the case of the children talking to someone, looking for someone, who would you advocate they talk to the more?
The man and the woman, I think. the child can talk to either of the parents. As a matter of fact, we don't need to isolate the fathers from parenting. Because if I answer you now by responding that the child should talk to the mother, I've almost succeeded in isolating the father. Because the input of a father in parenting is also very important to the psychological build-up of a child. And very soon I'm still going to be doing an extensive video about that. Fathers should also be involved. So I'm saying now that the child can talk to both of the parents or either of the parents. So long they are a team, they are a unit, they are a family. The result that the child wants is proper guidance, and that can come from either of the parents. That's my position.
Okay, Dara?
Yes, I fully support what she just said. It's very important. It's not just parenting is not just for mothers alone. Fathers should also be involved. In fact, some fathers can actually handle issues more than some mothers. So it should be both of them. Whenever if the child brings a situation and then the mother sees that okay, in this situation will actually be better off if daddy handles it, mom should take it to dad and refer the child to dad. If the child goes to dad and then dad feels that mom will be able to handle this better, dad should take it to mom. That is why they are team. So either of them can actually function in that.
Now, you were talking about, I think, Dara, you were talking about the emotional needs now. Now, let's highlight some of the emotional needs that a child can face if both parents are busy working and then they don't have time for the children.
Okay, we'll look at self-confidence. It's an emotional need. And then self-confidence could come out of tantrums that children throw at their fellows in school. And then they could just pick out one part of your body that amazes them to begin to mock, for example. And then as little as that seems, it looks like it's just children's play. It actually has a way of affecting the child's psychology. And then this child could be in depression, and then the child could just feel like, oh, I'm not beautiful, or oh, my nose is flat. My friends always laugh at me that my nose is flat. And then mommy and daddy are not at home for the child to talk to, and this child falls into depression. And then it begins to affect the psychological buildup of the child. Before you know, the child begins to have some kind of funny thoughts in her head or his head, and it begins to affect even the way the child relates. Before you know, you find out that this child is always just withdrawn. And maybe this is a child who actually is naturally outspoken, but then the child begins to grow up being withdrawn, and then you feel this child is just a reserved one, not knowing that it is actually out of depression and the fact that this child doesn't feel good about himself or herself. That is one of the emotional needs. Another emotional need that we could talk about is bullying. Bullying is another one that is very rampant in schools. And then this child doesn't have anyone to talk to. He doesn't have a security backup. But then if mommy and daddy are there for the child to talk to, and then the child gets to tell the parents, oh, so person bullied me today, so person did this to me today, you'll find out that it will actually help the child better. Okay, I have a case that I handled of a boy who was being bullied by his friends. They kept on bullying him, and these children have actually been exposed to gay, and then it kept on happening. And this child is always looking for ways to talk to the parents about what was going on in school, and then the parents didn't even know till they actually raped this boy. And then people may feel that it's only girls that are being raped, but boys are being raped. And then he was being bullied to the toilet and was being raped annually. And it's devastated the boy, it broke the boy. The boy became a shadow of himself, and then the parents didn't even actually observe. It actually took the class teacher, who is actually very, very observant, to observe that this boy is not himself. This boy is not actually who he used to be. He's not more as lively as he used to be. During break period, he doesn't go out again to play, and then he's just in there. And then she discovered he's always crying and all of that. And then she had to reach out to him only to discover what was going on with this boy. So that is actually another aspect of emotional need. You also have the sexual assault that goes on in schools and outside schools. It's also an emotional need. And you know, for example, this sexual assault, children who go through this sexual assault, they don't have that confidence to actually come out and share. They are always very withdrawn. It takes so much persuasion for you to actually be able to bring them out. And who will persuade them when the parents don't even know what's going on with them? They're not even available. And when before they come back from work, they have gone to bed. And then they don't even know what's going on in the life of the child. How will they actually be able to observe that, okay, this child is no more the way he or she used to be, or she's no more walking the way she used to be, and be able to persuade her to be able to get out this from her? So these are some of the emotional needs of children that parents need to meet.
Now let's talk about bonding. Now we did mention bonding earlier, finding time to bond. Now, are there tips? Are there for parents who are too busy, or parents who grew up like me, who didn't see my parents bonding? Are there tips that you could give to people like us to help us, yes, to learn how to bond them more?
Okay, before I give you the answer to that, I want to say this quickly, that the legacy of our lives as parents will be written by the lives of our children. And that is why we must prioritize caring for and growing our children. Now to your question. You must, as a parent, find and understand your child's love language. It is through this channel that you can connect with your child. I have many adolescents in my mentorship whom, if they have any tangible issues they want to talk about, their parents is the last that they want. They would rather even talk to me than their parents. This is because most parents do not even know the love language of their child.
Now, when you talk about love language, what do you mean exactly?
Yes, there are various means through which a child receives love. I'm a mother of 2 boys and a girl. My second son likes physical display of affection. He likes it when you hug him and say, I love you, how are you, and all of this. My second son believes that you love him when you assist him in doing things. There are some that believe that it is when you buy them gifts that you love them. They vary. I think there are about 5. But try as a parent to know the love language of your child, because this is through the funnel through which you can truly impact your child. And I will still go back to this. A person is the summary of the voices they have heard. For example, when Adam was hiding and God came into the garden and said, Adam, where are you? And he said, I'm hiding. God said, who told you that you are hiding? This is a pointer to tell us that we must be deliberate about the people we position in the life of our children, because these people are the ones that will influence your child. And this is why I will still harness it with time, availability, and presence. You can never build a child's self-confidence with absence. You must be present to build your child to be confident by modeling what you want your child to be. I call something monkey see, monkey do. Children learn more from what they see than what you verbally tell them. And this is why being available is still very germane in grooming up your child. You have to be present. You have to, as a matter of decision, say, no matter what, even though I live in Lagos, because I see Lagos is so busy and all of that, I'm going to prioritize my children, because that I succeed as a person is reflective on the kind of child I produce. A child you do not nurture cannot nourish you in your old age. No matter what wealth you aggrandize, no matter what properties you acquire, if you fail in the place of parenting, those acquisitions will soon vanish. So prioritize your children so that you can raise your head high as an individual, and they can resultantly nourish you in the future. Thank you.
If you fail in the place of parenting, that means you've failed in every other business.
Yes.
Now, what are the benefits that a working parent can actually generate if they pay attention to child development? Let me start with Zara here.
Please.
Now, the benefits of working parents can actually derive when they pay attention to child development.
The benefits that working parents can actually derive when they pay attention to child development. You know, when you pay attention to child development and then you're able to groom this child in the proper way that he should go, you see those wealth you've acquired, you will need your children to help you sustain it. But then if you actually don't give attention to grooming your children, those children will actually squander that money for you. I know of a man who he has so much wealth and everything, and then he died. And within the space of 5 years, these children have sold all his houses. And they were actually using it to cruise life. This year they sell this house and then they're in the latest clubs, buying the latest drinks and spending the money anyhow. And before you know it, you see all that wealth he had acquired, everything was down. Now, if he had actually given attention to grooming these children, with that wealth he had acquired, these children actually help to harness it better. So I actually have another example of a woman who built a school. This school has been over 20 years, and then her children have taken up this school. You need to see the amazing things that they're actually doing with this school. And I was like, wow, if this woman actually didn't groom these children well, the legacy of this school would have been forgotten. But now they've actually made it even better than the way the mother actually left it. So it is very, very key that parents actually give attention to whatever they are, to the upbringing of their child, because whatever your children are connected to you. Whatever your children go out there to exhibit tomorrow comes back to you, good or bad. It will always come back to you. So if your child goes out there making a good name, it will come back to you. People will look for who are the parents of this child. I would love to meet with your parents. And then the honor and accolade will actually be given to you as a parent. But if you didn't train these children well and they become miscreants in society, it will be the parents' name that will be put to shame. Because people will insult you as a person, they will insult your parents. Your parents didn't train you well. They are good for nothing people. That's why you're actually turning out like this. So actually, whatever the child turns out to be tomorrow actually falls back on the parents. That is why it is very important that parents actually give into developing their children.
Now, before because we're gradually running out of time. Now, let's look at because you can't tell me there are no disadvantages of having both parents work.
Yes.
So that's I'm very sure someone out there will want to hear about the disadvantages.
Okay. The disadvantages of having both parents work is that it deprives the child of total psychological development. There is what I call an absolute. When a child is all round balanced, there's the emotional balance, the psychological balance, even the social balance. So when both parents are working and they are not available, it deprives the child of this totalness in growth and instability. Also, when both parents are working, there's no way the parents can know. Every child has strengths and weakness. When you know the weakness of your child, you know how to, as a parent, because there is a unique connection that no matter the kind of caregiver you provide for your child, it does not still equal your own peculiar connection with your child. Just like a nursing mom whose baby is crying from far away, without looking at the baby, you are lactating. That is a unique dimension of connection. So when you create time amidst all the busyness and all, and you have time for your child, you are able to know the child's strengths and help him harness it better, and you are also able to know his weakness and help him grow through it. Other disadvantages of that is that the child becomes susceptible to abuse. Because more often than not, even child care is not stable. So you can have a house help for 6 months or a year, the house help is gone, another comes. This instability can make the child predisposed to being abused, because you can be lucky to have a good maid this year. Who knows who is coming next year? And that is why I still advocate for parents that still have their parents alive, bring in the grandparents with a maid to watch over your children.
But do you have anything to add?
This is actually a very interesting topic. And I'm going to share a little bit of my story so that parents actually really see that it is very key to actually be there physically for your child. So while growing up, my both parents were working parents and very busy. I was born in Lagos, and When I was 8, something happened. I was raped by a neighbor. So my mom took us on vacation, so to speak, with a church member that was more like a family, and then she wasn't around that day. And it seems this neighbor was actually here, been observing and discovered that I was most of the time alone. I just there was this building beside it where a church usually holds their program, and it was still they haven't fully developed it. I usually just go there to play alone, just me. And one day he came there and he had his way with me. Obviously, I was just a child, and my mom never noticed.
Oh wow.
I was naturally the reserved kind of
They were
child.
both working at the time.
Yes, we were both working. They get to come home at night. So I was actually normally the reserved kind of child. But then when I'm at home, I'm still lively. But my mom never noticed. And not until my final year when I told them the story, when something led to me having to tell them the story, they never knew. And it actually made me receptive. I went through that pain alone and everything. Even as a grown up that is being raped, you know the effect of it on the lady, how much more a child. And then it made me have this wall around myself. I became receptive to people. I was always in my own world with a very high fence around me. And then anyone that comes close, it's I just attack. And it made me rash while growing up. It made me rash. Like the slightest thing, people will come around me and then they're like, why are you always attacking? Why are you always defensive? And this was actually on an impulse. It wasn't something I actually never. So it affected even while in the university. I didn't have friends. I just had 2 friends. And I don't want to go on and on to the effect this actually had on me. It actually took me being deliberate when I grew up and became mature to start having to break some of these things and having to come out of this. So this is actually a very, very important topic. It is very key that parents are there for their children. Very key. That is why I will always advocate that parents look for jobs that will not keep them far away from their children. In fact, we're in a digital age now and things are evolving. You can actually work from home. Some people have the writing talent. There are platforms that you will use this and you will earn far more than those who are going to the office.
Yes.
There are people who have the talent of talking. They can talk on and on and on and explain. There are digital trainings you can take to actually improve yourself on this. 3 month courses, 6 month courses, and then you will be so good at this and you will use it in earning so much. You can even have diverse jobs that you can do right from the comfort of your home with your Android phone and your data. So it is very, very important that we actually try explore other means of making money that will even give you the money you're looking for more than the office jobs.
Yes.
And then you will still be able to have time for your children and your family.
Well, ladies, we can talk about this topic all morning and still we will not get tired. Like, seriously, this is one issue that needs a lot of digging and a lot keeps coming out. I know a lot of people who are trying to find balance. Maybe that is why this topic had to come up today. And I really thank the both of you for finding time to come today and share all of this. Now, in 1 minute, if you were to advise a parent now, just 1 minute, what would you say to them if they have not found that balance yet?
For parents who have not yet found the balance, I want you to become intentional about finding it, because I will still re-emphasize the place of time availability in the grooming of your child is germane to the overall person your child becomes as they evolve into adulthood. And also seek God. The Bible says in Proverbs 3:5-6, it says, trust in the Lord with all your heart, and he will direct all your paths. In all your ways acknowledge him, and he will direct your paths. Pray to God. God is a helper. Psalm 46:1, God is the ever-present help whenever you need him. Involve him. And
this is when
you.
our callers started calling in. Let me quickly just take this for 1 minute. So, I think was slippery. Can you? Hello. Yes. Good morning. You have 30 seconds, please. Could you just do this quickly? Your name and where you're calling me from. Okay. Thank you so much for calling in, Rupi. Okay, so I think we have to end this conversation. Yeah, we'll do it again. Yes. When you're in Lagos again, yes. We'll do it again. Okay. So thank you so much, Aunty Tayelolu, for coming, and thank also you. Theodora. Nice to see the both of you, my Facebook friends. I finally saw you. Well, on behalf of my assistant today, she has been amazing. Glory Thomas, thank you so much. I am Ida Outdoor saying we'll do this again next week, God willing. Stay with us on Radio 103.5 FM, the news talking sports station. At 11 o'clock, we'll be going straight to our news and to bring you the major news at that time. Don't go anywhere. Just stay. Just stay. I didn't even hear what she said.